Looking forward to everything, man. So for me personally, because obviously following my preseason predictions. So for the Eagles, like I mentioned, Saquon, if they win, the Saquon will be MVP because I feel like he would have had a very good day on the ground. On the other side, I'll say it just has to be Patrick Mahomes, man, because like the Chiefs, their offense plays such like selfless football where like it can be anybody anytime. Right?
People will say if you don't win the Super Bowl, every 31 teams did not have a good season, including one of the teams that might be playing the Super Bowl between Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles. But his worst fears came through,
Oh yeah,
not
oh, yeah.
paying up, and he goes to a division rival and he's going to the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, I mean that's what you get when you decide to pay Daniel Jones and not pay your running back, because that's I guess that's a sentiment that is in the NFL, right? You always pay a quarterback. The running backs, they kind of like disposable, right? You use them, kind of like throw them away or something. It's just a stupid sentiment that is with that whole thing. And now look at him playing for just running roughshod on the whole league, like it's crazy.
Hello, hello, and welcome to another episode of Sports Talk with myself, CT, and with me. Usually on Sports Talk, it's me, CT, and
And Albert, I'm happy to be back. And yeah, it feels like it's been a minute, but yeah, I'm just excited to get into all the. We'll see how our predictions at the start of the season have come so far. So yeah, excited.
yeah, so it's gonna be an NFL kind of heavy episode for us on this episode of Sports Talk. It's the Super Bowl in about not too long from now, in about a week. So we're gonna be taking a look at the NFL Super Bowl. That's gonna be the main thing. We're gonna preview the Super Bowl on here. For that, I'm just gonna set it up here a little bit for this preview talk. So if you're not living under the rock and you follow the NFL, which it's fine, not everybody follows the NFL, but you would know at this point that the Kansas City Chiefs is going to be playing the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl for a chance to win the Lombardi Trophy. So we're going to be taking a look at that. So the one thing I'm going to state is that these two teams, the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles, played not long ago, 2 years ago, in the Super Bowl in the same event to win it all. The Kansas City Chiefs won the Philadelphia Eagles 38-35. And if you watch that game, you knew that was a fantastic game to watch. It was a high scoring game. You wouldn't expect that from a Kansas City team that has incredible defense, but it was a high scoring game. Jalen Hurts was just showing out. He had 3 rushing touchdowns in that game. I think 70 rush yards. He had 1 passing touchdown. Jalen Hurts was incredible, the quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles. And also, Patrick Mahomes had 3 passing touchdowns. The Kansas City Chiefs ended up winning that game. So, to start this off, what are you looking forward to in the Super Bowl? Is the
Everything. Looking forward to everything. So this is a rematch basically of Super Bowl 57 2 years ago. And yeah, like you said, the Chiefs won 38-35 by a field goal, basically. That's what it came down to. And I still feel like Jalen Hurts was a bit uh, unlucky, I'll say in a way, because I know like he only had one fumble that was recovered for a touchdown. And that was like the only turnover that I had in that game. And it's hard not to think like if that did not happen, like what that game could have been really like. Yeah.
he had a fantastic game in
Yeah, he
that
had a
game.
great game except for just that one turnover, and like you almost like that turned the tide for the game.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, right? In terms of that game, Jalen Hurts was just a young quarterback coming up in the league. Kansas City had already won a Super Bowl. It was an opportunity um, for, and I think that was the first season Nick Sirianni, the coach of the Philadelphia um, Eagles, as a coach as well. So that was an interesting year for that team. He got paid after that season as well. So let's do a preview of what we think. Reviewing these two teams. First of all, these two teams have probably the two best defenses, arguably, in all of the NFL this season. what are you expecting? What's your big story points? What are you watching out in the game? What are you looking um, forward to?
I'm looking forward to everything, man. So for me personally, because obviously following my preseason predictions, I want the Chiefs to win basically. I want to see the three peats. It'll be like a historic thing. No team's ever won it back to back to back, and for the first time in the history, that can be done, and it would be a great thing to just be a part of, just to witness basically, and that basically puts Patrick Mahomes at an immortal status. And yeah, just I guess the argument continues: who is the greatest quarterback of all time? Does this trip it? If he wins it, does it make him greater than Tom Brady that has seven Super Bowls, or not? Or maybe he still needs to win more. But definitely, this is a dynasty that we're watching here, just like the New England Patriots before them. And yeah, so a lot. I would say, like what to expect with the game. I'm saying look out for a close game. I would say like something like 2 years ago when they met. I'll still say like 0 to 3 points is what differentiates both teams in the end. I don't see it to be that high scoring, like for them to be like in the like over 35 like
The
they did.
30s,
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't see it being that much. Probably maybe at best like high 20s for both teams. But yeah, but it's a lot, I guess, to anticipate. Um, Phillies defense. I believe defenses win championships, right? That's what I believe. That's the saying. Like I always remember the Super Bowl, the Carolina Panthers when they played Denver, and that was like a defensive showdown, like absolute. Like they went after Cam because Cam was the quarterback for the Carolina Panthers then, and I know it was like the regular season MVP that year too. But they absolutely went at him. Like and it wasn't even fair to see in the end. So this year, like Phillies defense coming into the postseason, they have the number one total defense in the NFL, and that's allowing just 278 total yards per game. And they also have the number one passing defense to allowing just 174 passing yards per game. So that's coming into the postseason, right? So number one overall defense, number one passing defense, and so now it almost seems like the Chiefs will have to run the ball. And then on the other side, so this is my prediction. It's not really a bold one, but I see Saquon Barkley as the MVP if the Eagles win, because I think like Jalen Hurts of 2 years ago, I don't see him as quite the same player that he was 2 years ago. Um, Not that he's a worse player, but I just feel like something's changed in his not like arm talent per se, but like in the way he distributes the ball, like throws the ball, and obviously like them having Saquon in the team now changes a lot of that, and having obviously the great offensive line that they have, it makes it easier to just hand the ball over the Saquon, and he just goes downfield, hits his head on the goalpost. It's almost like every time he touches the ball, something is going to happen. And so yeah, so if the Eagles were to win, I would say Saquon is will be the Super Bowl MVP. But obviously, if the Chiefs win, it will definitely be Mahomes because I like you don't bet against Mahomes. If anything I've learned so far, you don't just like Tom Brady before him. You don't bet against them. But for me, it's a very interesting game, close game, like till the fourth quarter. And this is what I would say, right? Like so, the Chiefs had this season, I think over 10 games that they won by just one score. So this is what I'm saying. If the game is close, it gets to the fourth quarter and the final play goes to Mahomes, the Chiefs win it. Like I don't see any other way around that because they've been in this situation so many times where you think they lose a game, they end up winning by one score, and like they've done it the whole season. It's like now it's like a routine for them. Like Patrick he can make plays with his legs, his arms, like he's got the whole package. He knows what to do. He knows when the moment calls for it, and obviously trusting his coach and the read, to make the right plays or call the right plays at the right time too. So that's what I think. Like, yeah. So if the Eagles want to win, I feel like they really have to just bomb rush the Chiefs, which I know is not possible because obviously the defensive coordinator, Coach Spag, yeah, I'm sure he will have something special, coming for them. Most importantly, will be stopping Saquon, like stopping the run. But then, even if they did, now you have to play almost one on one against Smith and AJ Brown, and it's almost impossible to do. So it makes Kansas City Chiefs defense even have more work to do, in my opinion. So that's why I just see the game as a very interesting game, and even how the Chiefs offense will attack like Philly's defense. That is such a great defense. So yeah, man, it's a game that I'm definitely excited to watch and see how it turns out. I feel like I won't be mad if the Chiefs lose, but obviously I do want to witness history happen. But I think for the first time I really respect the Eagles because of that defense that they have with them.
Yes, I share kind of a similar sentiment about the game. One thing for sure is that you never bet against the Chiefs. If they have shown anything, is that during the big moments, Mahomes and Andy Reid combination of plays, they would actually come through. When I think of the Super Bowl in about a week, there are a lot of things that come through my mind. Saquon Barkley is going to determine a lot of how this goes. The Eagles now play through Saquon Barkley. That's why Jalen Hurts just got to step up when he is needed. But Saquon Barkley is going to be the driving force for this Eagles team. The Kansas City Chiefs rush defense is not so great. So that might be a thing that the Philadelphia Eagles can actually capitalize on. Against the Chiefs. So I think that's the thing. Andy Reid, time to prepare, 2 weeks. You got Patrick Mahomes in a Super Bowl game, big plays, packed with that defense. I obviously cannot say that they wouldn't win the game, but there's something about this Philly team that is very interesting. Their ability to have what hasn't looked like an excellent season. Obviously their defense has been spectacular, but it has always looked like there's a chance there offensively that they wouldn't actually do something, and they're right here in the Super Bowl. Vic Fangio, the defensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles, that's a defensive coach right from the Broncos to when he was even in Miami and stuff. That's a coach that is respected all over the NFL. Defensively, didn't have a great time being the coach. I think he was a coach for the Denver Broncos at some point. Didn't work out, but as a defensive coordinator, you know he's going to get that defense ready. The talent on the Eagles defensive line is amazing. Brandon Graham, Jalen Carter, that a lot of NFL team passed on because of some behavioral and unfortunate issues in college. But the Eagles got that. Howie Roseman, the GM of the Eagles, putting up a roster that you can only screw up. You don't really have to be great. You got Saquon, you got AJ Brown, you got former first round pick Devonta Smith. So I think the Eagles, in my opinion, is a better roster. But there's Andy Reid and there's Patrick Mahomes and there's Chris Jones for the Kansas City Chiefs. On a roster level, the Eagles are loaded. Every layer, the offensive line, we didn't even talk about it. The offensive line is absolutely really good. So I'm looking forward to a. Funny enough, I think this is going to be a defensive. I think it's going to be a defensive Super Bowl. Last year we had the Kansas City Chiefs play the San Francisco 49ers. It was 25-22. So that was
three
it
points,
ended by 3 points as well, which is kind of a key number for these big games. But 3-3-3, right? So and Kansas City has a chance to go back to back to back, which has never been done, even by the New England Patriots, when Tom Brady and the Patriots dominated in a space of 20 years, winning six Super Bowl trophies. So this would be something amazing, and we all know, even if he does it this year, that is Patrick Mahomes. The NFL still got at least 10 years to deal with that guy. So that I think the Super Bowl is gonna be interesting. It's gonna be fun. We're all looking forward to it.
And another, I guess, one more thing to look out for is the Phillies defense. I've already talked about being a little bit opportunistic, because if you watch the NFC Championship game against the Commanders, they forced 4 turnovers. So it was one interception thrown by Jaden Daniels, and then three forced fumbles basically. And so they just capitalized on those errors. And if you see them play the defense, they literally like try to punch the ball out from players, like trying to run and like so. Definitely, I think that's something that Andy Reid and like like the Kansas City Chiefs offense would be like they'll be aware of. Philly's defense trying to do force those turnovers out from them.
Um, so I just wanted to find out if you had to. So not necessarily the best player. We know the most important players in the team, but any player at all, it could be them as well. Who would you think? Because I'm thinking about it right now. Who do you think would be the most vital, or the player you would say has to step up for both teams offensively? We're gonna stick with offense here. So who do you think is the key player that if he has a great game, probably that team would win? Would it be the quarterback, running back for each of the teams, or any receiver? Could it be Travis Kelsey, Dallas Goddard for the Philadelphia um, Eagles? Like, who are you looking at as the key player for each of these two teams offensively going into the Super Bowl?
So for the Eagles, like I mentioned, Saquon, if they win, the Saquon will be MVP because I feel like he would have had a very good day on the ground. But I'm just thinking like if
If the
like the
Kansas City
Kansas City
Chiefs,
Chiefs
yeah.
defense, if they have a game plan for him and they restrict him, then I think it's now on AJ Brown to be able to, because like he's so good beating his man 1-on-1, and if because I feel like the amount of, I guess, attention that Saquon will be getting, I feel like they will probably have to like load the box, so it kind of like gives the
One
wide
on one.
receivers one-on-one situation. And I feel like if there is anyone that can beat that man one-on-one, it's AJ. So for sure on the Phillies offense, I'm saying AJ to be the one to look out for to have a great game if they are able to stop that offensive line and Saquon running behind it. And on the other side, I would say it just has to be Patrick Mahomes, man, because like the Chiefs, they play their offense plays such like selfless football where like it can be anybody anytime, right? Like they have DeAndre Hopkins, they have Javier Wardley, they have Juju Smith-Schuster, they have the running backs, Karim Hunt and Pacheco.
They're
So
using
like
three running backs
three
right
running back,
now. Yeah,
yeah, and P Ryan as
yeah.
well, right? So with the Chiefs, they have so many Travis Kelsey, not to be forgotten. So like they have so many options that they can play. So I just feel like it's what Mahomes decides to do at that moment, and anyone that can obviously step up and make plays at the right time. So I feel like it will be on Mahomes for them offensively, but like on the other side, yeah, I'll say AJ Brown to have a big game for the Eagles.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about it, right? I would say Jalen Hurts because I think he would need to protect the ball and he would need to be accurate, kind of similar to what you said about AJ Brown. He would need to get that ball accurately to AJ Brown. AJ Brown, there might be a chance Trent McDuffie actually shadows AJ Brown, but AJ Brown is AJ Brown.
Oh yeah, exactly. Like I feel like that would be the matchup to see, right? McDuffie against AJ, but I feel like AJ is so good, man. Like that would just, yeah. I see AJ winning more of that battle. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and that's why I said Jalen Hurts has to get the ball to AJ Brown, and if he does get the ball to AJ Brown, I think AJ Brown is going to win that one-on-one matchup. Even if that, yeah, he has to get it in perfectly because Trent McDuffie is going to be right there to have something to say. And as for the Kansas City Chiefs, it's interesting because they would have to run the ball effectively. The last game, Kareem Hunt had a good game running. Isaiah Pacheco coming back from injury and getting his feet in. But I would say Travis Kelsey. And the reason I say Travis Kelsey is Xavier Ward is a gadget, well, not a gadget player. They used him a lot in the championship game, the AFC championship game, and he was spectacular. But I would say Travis Kelsey because they would need to have the reliable player down the middle that Patrick Mahomes would need to find. We know that connection has been here for a long time, but this is the sport where you ask yourself, Nick Bolton, the linebacker, Travis Kelsey, is he getting old? Can he be stopped? It's a big game. Vic Vancho is going to have a plan for him. And if you can stop Travis Kelsey, even though we talk about all the other players, that's a huge part of what they do on offense. The running game, in my opinion, for the Kansas City Chiefs is not explosive. It's a lot of schemes.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a lot of like skimming around, so it's not very explosive. So that I would say Travis Kelsey for Kansas City, and for so the most impactful player that will probably determine the game outside of the big names. I'll say Travis Kelce for Kansas City and Jalen Hurts for the Philadelphia Eagles. So that would be a fun Super Bowl. I think looking forward to it. It's going to be something everybody will be looking at. So while we're still talking the Super Bowl, I have a take back. What do you think about the halftime performance scheduled for Kendrick Lamar? Is that something you're looking forward to?
Ooh, I hope it doesn't become controversial. But yeah, no, definitely. Well, I'll definitely be looking forward to seeing, what songs he performs and all that. And
Apple Music halftime show, yeah.
yeah, looking forward to that. And who knows if he throws in one Drake this song in there, to make everything go crazy. And who knows, maybe Drake starts to sue the NFL for letting that happen, and it gets even more interesting. But yeah.
I guess the beef might still go on. Who knows? I am not. I would rather he. We know that's the song everybody want to hear. It's not like us.
They don't like us.
Yeah, that's what everybody want to hear. But not a huge fan of the whole schedule for that. But anyway, the game is gonna be great. The halftime show is gonna be great. If you're not there for the game, you can be there for the halftime show. Either way, millions and millions of people are gonna be watching the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is the finals.
59. Yeah.
Super Bowl 59 is the finals of the NFL season. Is the finals of the playoffs. This whole NFL thing. But anyway, let's go back to the pod a little bit. So that's basically, we're just talking about the Super Bowl. We know it's gonna be fun. Let's go back a little bit to the NFL season. Looking back, we did have our predictions to start the season. So there's no need to go, but we're gonna go review what we thought. Just going back to the first episode earlier in the season, the NFL preseason show, right? We both had Kansas City winning the Detroit Lions. So we did something right.
Yeah.
We knew the Kansas City is going to be good for for both of us.
Yeah.
So now when we look back at those predictions, what I think. So from what I remember from it, we both had Kansas City to win Detroit in the Super Bowl. In the AFC Championship game, we both had Kansas City to beat Baltimore.
I had Baltimore.
Yeah.
Didn't you have the Jets?
Oh yeah, no. I did have the Jets. You had Baltimore.
Yeah, Baltimore. Yeah.
Kansas City to beat Baltimore, which Kansas City did.
Yeah.
No, Kansas City did not.
Did not, because Baltimore lost before.
Yeah, I had the Jets. So
that was way off. Way off.
I just took a minute to think about it. When there is dysfunction, I gotta. When there is dysfunction, always trust dysfunction to be dysfunction. Don't hope for miracles. Dysfunction is dysfunction, and the New York Jets is dysfunction. Anyway, so I had the Jets actually making the conference final in the AFC. Kansas City to beat them, which they did not get there. They did not even make the playoffs.
They never made the playoffs.
Disaster.
Yes.
You had the Baltimore Ravens to get there. They did not get there. It's an absolute disaster. In the NFC, I had the Eagles and Detroit to win the Philadelphia Eagles.
No, okay.
Eagles is in the Super Bowl, but Detroit did not get there, so we're going to review that. You have the 49ers.
They had the 49ers
against Detroit.
They were absolute, I don't know what to say, embarrassment. But, to cut them some slack, key injuries to key players throughout the season, like Brandon Ayuk, he got paid and, got injured. And C-Mac was out for a bit. I think even Brock.
For most of the year.
Yeah. Most of the year. Even Brock, I think Brock missed, one or two games here and there. And then Debo too was kind of in and out. I think the person that was there mostly was Kittle. I think he was more fit this season. But so their offense definitely suffered. And the reason I picked them was because I just said they were such a talented team. I didn't see the talent going anywhere, right? They still had Brock that was on a rookie contract, so I feel they could still pay their wide receivers and their offensive linemen, Trent Williams, all them, and still be able to keep the team together. But so it just, I guess the injury gods had other plans for them, and so they didn't even make the postseason, which was a little bit disappointing for them.
So I guess we both had, you had the Jets, I had.
No, but you can't compare the Jets to the
No, the Jets were absolutely
the Jets were just because we'll talk about them like
Yeah,
later
later.
on.
Yeah,
But yeah, the Jets, you can't really compare them. They were
yeah.
just
I,
a
I,
disgrace, basically.
I, I think one thing is the Jets was a complete miss, but in my opinion, I also thought the 49ers was not going to have a good year in general
I was
because
hopeful. I
we
was.
thought injury bug is a thing for
It
that
was
team.
more of a wishful thinking, I
Thinking,
guess. But like I said, they're such a talented team. Like I feel like from offense, defense, linemen, everything you want to go, special teams, like all around, they're such a good, well-rounded team and a well-coached team too. But so I just thought like with all that talent, they'll be able to like put something, put it run together. But I guess it wasn't their year, and I don't think next year will be their year either.
yeah, with the whole salary cap, and I don't think Debo is an ascending player anymore, so that's a tough
Unfortunately, I feel
contract.
like they ran Debo into the ground, right? Because for the
Yeah,
longest time, it was kind of like a utility player where he could play running back and wide receiver at the same time. So I feel like that's definitely caught up with him, like the wear and tear on his body and all that. So yeah, I feel like he's just a player that's kind of like declining right now, unfortunately. And I hope I'm wrong, but we'll see what next season brings.
yeah. Let's talk about the Detroit Lions. We both had the Detroit Lions
The
making it to the
NFC
yeah,
Championship.
being the NFC champions. Obviously, I do. In defense of that pick, I think the Detroit Lions would have made the Super Bowl outside of all kinds of injuries. Alim McNeil, Aiden Hutchinson, their defense was basically ravaged. You got a rookie quarterback, excellent rookie quarterback in Jaden Daniels coming into their home and putting up 45 points. What do you think about the Detroit Lions season? Because I think they had a fantastic season. What happened that they lost to the Washington Commanders?
Yeah, no, I was rooting for them all season. They had that two two monster running back combination going for them. And yeah, even Jared Goff was, having a good season. Even their wide receivers and the way they play kind of like complementary football. And they were a team that you could tell, like when they met, like when they played a bad team, they put it on the team. You know what I mean? Like they didn't play around. Like if they played in a bad team, they make sure that they handle business. And at home, they were like almost flawless. Playing at home. And so yeah, it was like you said, unfortunate that they had to go through all those injuries, especially on the defensive side. And it all started when their pass rusher Hutchinson had gone down. And I feel like that's kind of like just became a slippery slope of injuries on the defensive side for them. And they're starting to call up like guys that I didn't even know were on the roster, to have to step in for them, and but even with all the injuries on the defensive end, they were still able to make it all the way through to getting the number one seed in the NFC, and that was with a 15-2 record, and
Yeah,
being able to beat out their division rivals on the week 18 of the NFL, and
yeah, Minnesota Vikings.
Minnesota Vikings, because they were both vying for like the number one overall seed at that point. They were both 14-2 at that point, and so yeah, that game made a difference. But yeah, like I really could feel and like sympathize for them because you could tell like it was that close. They had the number one overall seed. They had home advantage. If they had won, if they had beat the Washington, the Commanders, they would have had still that home field advantage to be able to like go up against Philly. So yeah, it's just one of those unfortunate things. Injury gods had their own plans and schedule for them. I guess it wasn't their time yet, but yeah, but in general, great season. Yes, one more thing I'll point out is it gets even harder now for them next season because now they've lost both their offensive and defensive coordinators, and you know what happened with the Eagles. Basically, when the same thing happened to them, they had gone to the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and they lost both offensive and defensive coordinators coming into the next year, and it was weird. But they had started the year 10-1 record, and then just kind of like fell off. Yeah, they just
1-5 to end
yeah
the year.
yeah 1-5 to end the year, and then yeah, went into the postseason and they were like one and done basically. So it really, really, yeah, I guess it will be a testament to Dan Campbell if he's able to like pull this off again next year, having to hire new offensive and defensive coordinators to be able to get them competitive and aim to reach the Super Bowl again, or reach the Super Bowl and win it basically.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator Ben Johnson, becoming the new head coach of the Chicago Bears, that would be tough for them to recover from. I agree. They had a fantastic season. The injuries were just tough to overcome defensively.
Defensively, yeah.
I wouldn't say they had a fantastic defense, but it was good
No.
enough to win to get to the Super Bowl. But
Yeah.
with the injuries,
It didn't even help at all, right? Because like I feel like the offense will always hold its own, and they just needed the defense to just just slow the other team down because the offense was like so good that like they could overcome like the defense, like the deficiencies of the defense. So like yeah, like that offense averaged like what 30, 30 plus points per game.
insane numbers.
Yeah, like that.
Jameer Gibbs, by the way, we're going to be talking a lot.
Most rushing touchdowns in the season, right? I think we was tied with Derrick Henry, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 16 touchdowns.
Yeah, and the thing is, he didn't even get the backfield lead role. David Montgomery had a lot of touches until that little stretch that he was injured.
Yeah.
Closer to the end of the season. So Detroit is going to be having an interesting time next year. I think where they're going to struggle even next year is defensively. Offensively, they have an identity.
Yes.
Right?
Already.
With the two running backs, they have an identity, so they can work off of that. But defensively, without Aaron Glenn, now the new the head coach of the of the Jets, just thinking about the Jets, I'm like, it's not going to improve over there anyway. But it's going to be interesting with the Detroit Lions. I think they had a good season. Unfortunately, how it ended, some people will say if you don't win the Super Bowl, every 31 teams did not have a good season, including one of the teams that might be playing the Super Bowl between Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles. So that would be basically when we take a look back at several months ago, basically start the year over. So the NFL season now, it's over, but this started about 4 or 5 months ago. 5 months ago. So interesting to just look back at that. And the other thing I wanted to look back at quickly, where we go take a look at it, is when we did the preseason show for the NFL, you had 5 preseason moves that you were looking forward to. We just want to take a quick look at how those went. I'm going to try to recap it. There was Stephon Diggs going to the Houston Texans. There was the wide receivers, Marquise Brown going
for Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah. We also had
Steelers, two quarterback situation. Yeah.
Derrick Henry to the Baltimore Ravens,
which was my favorite, and the second one too.
So when you look back at all of those, any thoughts, comments about how that all transpired looking back from the preseason to right now?
It was great. Especially my number one, I guess, off-season move that I said was King Henry, going to Baltimore. And, I have the stats right in front of me here, so 325 carries, was second in the NFL, and he had 1,921 yards, second to second in the NFL this year, 16 touchdowns. That's tied first, and I think we already talked about that to Jameer Gibbs. He had receiving, he had 22 targets, 19 receptions, 193 yards, and 2 touchdowns receiving. So that was
a total of 18 touchdowns.
18 touchdowns. So that was a great move for the Baltimore Ravens. Basically getting him for for nothing. Basically, and and then the other one I really liked was Saquon too. Saquon Barkley, moving within the division from the Giants to Philly, but yeah, man, like he transformed the Eagles' offense basically, and
we remember the owner of the Giants, John Mara, talking about
had not
losing Saquon Barkley to the Giants,
so
and his worst fears.
Yeah, so arrogantly too.
But his worst fears came through.
Oh yeah,
not paying up. And he goes to a division rival and he's going to the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's what you get when you decide to pay Daniel Jones and not pay your running back. Because I guess that's a sentiment that is in the NFL, right? You always pay a quarterback. The running backs, they kind of like disposable, right? You use them, kind of like throw them away or something. It's just a stupid sentiment that, is with that whole thing. And now look at him play for just running roughshod on the whole league. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, I was going to mention that later in the pod, but since you brought it up, the running backs are literally sticking it to the owners and to the smart guys and to the number crunchers. We both know these guys are the people that get in the trenches, get the most hits on their bodies, and basically being treated as replaceable. The interesting thing is that two of the players that we're talking about right now, Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry, were treated like disposable players.
Yep.
And they probably had career years. Saquon Barkley could have broken the Russian,
Russian
if not that the team was so good,
Yeah.
they didn't need to actually play the final game of the season to actually secure their position. But in some way, the smart guys, the guys that think they're replaceable, those two free agents just came in this year.
And they shifted the whole league, basically. Like, it was, they made all the difference. One in the AFC, one in the NFC, and it was, they just transformed the teams that they played on, pretty much,
absolutely. So I really think looking at those top two moves, yes, it was an exciting moves in the NFL, but it played out just exactly like that. The narrative was a beautiful story to actually look at.
And the funny thing now is that the Giants that chose to pay Daniel Jones, their quarterback, he is no longer on the team, which is very ironic when you think of it, right? Like, they paid him over Saquon, and Saquon wasn't even asking for much. I think it was like less than like 50 million or something like that. And
two, 3 million more than what was offered.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, it's just crazy. They decided to pay the quarterback, and now the quarterback is not on the team anymore. How stupid is that? Like, when you think of it.
Yeah, at this point, I don't know how they can come back from that decision. That was as bad as it gets of a decision in the NFL. But yeah, that's kind of interesting looking back at those two main running back moves, and those moves being huge differentials. Looking at the season that Derrick Henry had, there's no question he was an absolute. It just made that offense dynamic. They got to the playoffs and all that. So yeah, those moves were actually very vital for their teams. So just taking a look at the NFL here, previewing the Super Bowl, but we already did the preview of the Super Bowl. So wanted to take a look at the big storylines of the NFL season heading into the Super Bowl. That's because we have not had any NFL-centric sport since then. When we look back at the full NFL season, let's talk about the storylines. We talked about one storyline that I thought was very interesting. We already covered it, so we're going to move on from it, which is the two big running backs having monster years. Derrick Henry won over 1,900 yards with 16 touchdowns. He had Saquon Barkley with over 2,000 yards, so 2,005 yards.
Yeah, 2,005 yards. He had
13 touchdowns.
Yeah, so 2005, 13 touchdowns. And so he was just 106 yards off of breaking Eric Dickerson's record that was set in 1984, if I'm not mistaken. So then he did it in 16 games. Saquon also did his in 16 games because he didn't play the 17th one. And I think there was a game too that he didn't want to kind of like go all the way, and he kind of like asked Coach Sirianni to let the other guys eat, like he said. So he did have the opportunity, I would say, to even break the record within those 16 games. So it's crazy.
And also he knelt down in some opportunities for huge yards. So those yards could be a little bit more. Let's just say Saquon was incredible and was not chasing numbers. Obvious situations that he was not chasing numbers. So that would be one of the scenarios. But let's take a look at all the other major headlines here. I'm going to let you get into your headlines here. If there's anyone that you skip or I want to make a comment on, I'll get into it for the full season.
Oh yeah, for me the most interesting headline for me was the Jets firing the head coach Robert Saleh. After 5 games, their record was 2-3, so 2 wins, 3 losses. When they had lost to, forget the team now, to the Vikings. But anyways, so they fired him after that. So to end the season, so rather after they fired him, their record was 3-9. So they only won 3 games after firing him and lost 9. So I know after firing him, they had lost 3 or 4 straight after firing him. So it's rare in the NFL, like in the modern day, that you fire a coach like halfway through the season. They usually wait till the end of the season and then let you go. But for them to have made that decision midway through the season, I don't know what they thought was going to change, really.
Not really midway. 5 games into the season.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Like, that's one third.
One third, right? You could have done that before the season started if you really thought that things were not going well.
So, I thought that decision was pretty much idiotic, in my opinion. You let him go and nothing really changed. So who really was the problem now? If we want to like really look at it, like who really was the problem when you when
The TikTok kid making the decisions.
exactly. Exactly. So like I thought that was a very interesting thing because like I really because do you know how justified, how fulfilled Robert Salah would feel knowing that he was fired and his team was still crap? Like he'll be at home like with his severance package, whatever he was he was paid at the end, and he'll be feeling good, probably be looking at becoming defensive coordinator for who knows, maybe
I,
the
I
Lions.
think right now he's up for the San Francisco defensive coordinator with
Oh, okay.
Shanahan.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
that
that's
could be the
because
thing.
I think he already worked with Sanya before, so there's a connection there. Definitely, he can swoop in back there. But it'd be nice, to see
Or
him to,
Detroit,
to
yeah.
see him with the Lions, right? To really help them defensively. But yeah, no, I thought that was an interesting one, to start the season because, like I said, it was just 5 games into the season, and then yeah, the other ones are just the Washington Commanders, Jaden Daniels, the rookie quarterback, and the Commanders finishing the season on a record of 12-5, and I did not see that coming. Nobody saw that coming. Yeah, so they only finished behind the Eagles in their division, ahead of the obviously the Giants that are nothing to talk about, and the Cowboys. But yeah, I did not see that coming. What a great rookie season he had, like for a rookie, like yeah, like, and for him to take the team all the way to the NFC Championship game, basically going on the road too, and beating, starting with the Bucks. They beat the Bucks on the road. Then they beat the Lions
Yeah.
in Detroit en route to going to Philly and losing in the NFC game. So yeah, Jaden Daniels for me and the Commanders, it was just almost like something so refreshing to see. Like a rookie quarterback. Obviously it was a second overall pick, but yeah, like even the first overall pick that played for the Caleb Williams that played for the Chicago Bears was like really nothing to write home about. So to see this young man just really just take the league by storm. He could do it with his arm, he could do it with his legs, and there were some crazy fourth quarter games that they had to scoring like 17 points in the fourth quarter, and like the way he played, and like that this is not a one and done kind of quarterback that he is. So definitely excited for him. Definitely want to see what his second season looks like. I think they get better as a team, and obviously with the help of because I know they had a new coach to that Queen and the offensive coordinator. The former head coach of the Arizona Cardinals,
Cliff Kingsbury.
yeah, Cliff Kingsbury, that really really helped him as well. But yeah, like for me, like the way they played, I didn't see the Commanders because like I remember when Taylor Heineke was a quarterback and like they were scrambling and at some point it was just different quarterbacks that they've had, and like this kid just comes in and completely transforms the team, and like now you hear players around the league saying things like things you thought you'd never hear, like they want to go and play for the Washington Commanders because of this amazing young man in Jaden Daniels as a
Yeah,
quarterback.
let's not forget the Dan Snyder also not being the owner of that team anymore. Like, could that also be a breath of fresh air in the organization?
That
That's
probably,
crazy.
yeah,
Considering that for the number of years I've been following the NFL, the Washington Commanders have just been straight up bad.
yeah. That could be it too. Change of ownership is something that can also kind of like catapult the team in certain situations. So yeah, like I know they have kind of like a new ownership group.
Josh Harris, yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, so I feel like new voice, in the hierarchy there, definitely something that's changed, and I feel like maybe the Chicago Bears should look at that too, because I feel like the Bears are another team that they do look like kind of a dysfunctional organization in the way that they kind of like hire their coaches and all that, and yeah, it doesn't help. Like the quarterbacks drafting Justin Fields, and now things didn't work out, and then the coaches are just yeah. So maybe they should take a look at that and see if if it's something that they can also do and just help this young man in Caleb Williams that was a number one overall pick.
Yeah, Ben Johnson would help, right?
Well, we hope so, but like sometimes like an organization is so dysfunctional that just one person can't really change it. It kind of needs like a wholesome change.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. We'll see how that goes. in terms of how for the, I'm just gonna comment on the couple that you've actually talked about. The Jets one, complete dumpster. I don't want to talk about the Jets. Like for real, I genuinely don't want to talk about the Jets. But I want to talk about Jaden Daniels because the Jets is all things negative, and I don't want to talk about that. So for Jaden Daniels, what a rookie. Number 2 overall pick to the Washington Commanders. You get a really good offensive coach in Kingsbury. You get Dan Quinn, a good defensive mind. That roster is a very bad roster. Let's not get it twisted. This was a coaching staff that did a fantastic job, a quarterback that has veins and like is
That's
absolutely
ice in his veins.
cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So Jaden Daniels, I think he's going to be excellent for several years to come. I kind of make a comparison in my mind about Jaden Daniels and CJ Stroud, considering CJ Stroud had to take a step back in the second year, which I don't actually mind much. It's a very tough thing when you have such a great rookie year. But when I look at Jaden Daniels, I don't think he takes a step back. The young man is just cool, composed, and prepared, as I've seen any player, probably having the best rookie season ever for a quarterback in NFL history. I just think he's going to be excellent. If they keep improving that team, watch out, guys, in the NFC. The Washington Commanders are coming. That Washington defense is horrible in terms of talent. Well, Dan Quinn is a defensive specialist. He got the best he could get out of that defense. Shout out to Frankie Louvu, the linebacker. Had a I just have to mention, I love that dude. First of all, he's a fantastic player, linebacker coming from the Carolina Panthers. And if you watch the game when they were losing against Philadelphia, he's also a funny dude.
Yeah, I was having a good time.
On the 1 yard line,
he was having a good time.
like
Yeah.
having a good time. Yes, we're about to lose this game, but I'm gonna get neutral zone infractions 3 times in a row. I thought that was fun. The referees had to give.
They had to give him one.
It was fun.
Yeah.
Anyway, shout out to Frankie Louvu, but I think the Washington Commanders had a fantastic year. Improved the talent on defense. A little bit of talent improvement on offense, but Jaden Daniels is going to be good anyway. Excited for Terry McLaurin, Terry McIncredible having his playoff moments after such a long time, an absolute shit show in Washington. So yeah, for the Jaden Daniels one, that's really what I wanted to say. Any other top headlines you wanted to mention?
Yeah, I guess the other one is the Sam Darnold and the Vikings, because they had lost their quarterback in his name again, Cousins. So yeah, they had lost him to the Falcons, which, when you think of how the whole thing played out, it's kind of like funny. But
did that surprise you? Just before you continue with your talk,
yeah, like
I have to say, we make joke of it, but I want an agent like Cousins' agent, right from Washington days of getting his 1-year contracts on 1-year contracts and getting the big contract in Minnesota and getting the extension and also the contract in Atlanta. His agent definitely plays some mind games on people, because there's no way a 35-year-old quarterback coming off of an Achilles injury should be getting that contract. But I don't know what anybody expected, that he was going to move around. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so no, obviously they lost him, and he's not a great quarterback, I would say, but like he's a good quarterback for them, and he had that rapport with Justin Jefferson too, and knew how to play within that offense for them, like Kevin O'Connell's offense. So yeah, losing him, and then they went and got Sam Darnold that was drafted to the Jets, if I'm not mistaken, but like since then it's kind of like been like a journeyman in a way, but like you see him come into that offense and be able to just help them win games. Like I know he wasn't like spectacular per se, but like he was able to not lose them games, is what I would say, right? And
until he lost them games at the end.
Oh yeah, until the end, because like you always revert back to factory settings in a way. But no, in general, still credit to just the team in general. They did play well as a team, and the defense too, led by
Brian
Flores from the former head coach of the Miami Dolphins. So yeah, that defense came to play as well, and so just Justin Jefferson being Justin Jefferson, and yeah, man, Kevin O'Connell is a damn good coach in this league. I'll say, like losing a quarterback, getting Sam Darnold, that's pretty much everyone had written off, and being being able to kind of like guide him and help him help the team, make plays, win games, and yeah, so just a little shout out to them, I guess, as one of the kind of like headlines that no one really saw coming them going into week 18 with 14-2 record.
I
I
didn't
really
see
didn't
that.
see
I
that
thought they
coming.
would go under 6 wins in the season.
Oh
So
yeah,
that's
for
how
sure.
badly I thought.
Oh yeah,
And
I
they
did not see
drafted
that.
JJ McCarthy and going with Sam Darnold. I thought it was going to be a.
Yeah, I didn't see them being this good, but like they definitely did well. Fortunately, they were kind of like one and done in the postseason, which at this point kind of makes sense because you could tell Sam Darnold's play kind of like declined as the season went, especially towards the tail end of the season. So not surprised they were like one and done, but like just for the regular season, I think they did all right. Just as a team in general.
Oh yeah, yeah. I totally the Vikings thing kind of took me by surprise. Drafted JJ McCarthy. JJ McCarthy is supposed to be their quarterback of the future. Gets injured in training camp. Sam Darnold is going to start for the year. Shout out to the coaches and that team, Kevin O'Connell. He's the Dunders. I remember the game that Josh Dobbs basically flew in the night before and won a game in the NFL.
Yep.
Kevin O'Connell was the
Was
coach.
good. Yep.
He's an excellent offensive coach. And I'm not sure about the news for this, but the Vikings got to pay him. Just pay him. If
Oh,
you
yeah.
don't, somebody else will.
Oh yeah,
But
for sure.
yeah, so I think fantastic coaching job by both Brian Flores on the defensive end and offensively by Kevin O'Connell for the Minnesota Vikings. I totally think that was a shocking and interesting story to follow all year. It will be curious and interesting to see what Sam Darnold's market will be in the free agent market this year. 30 million, some Baker Mayfield kind of contract. I wouldn't do it.
Possible.
I
It's
wouldn't do it.
possible,
I
but
wouldn't do it anyway.
it's what the market demands, I guess. But
Nah, factory reset is real thing. Factory reset is a real thing. But so just taking a look, those are the top storylines we're looking at. But let's take a look at it. Top. We're gonna go individual performances this time
yeah.
in the NFL. So we're gonna take a look at the top player performances in the NFL and the most disappointing player performances. I think we've mentioned a few of the disappointing teams. A little bit San Francisco 49ers. We have the impressive teams like the Vikings,
Yeah.
like the Washington Commanders. Let's talk about players here. Let's talk about excellent or top or surprising, however we want to put it, performances by players in the NFL this season as we look forward to the Super Bowl between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles, and also the most disappointing, or what we can call you can do better.
Yeah, no, for me, the top player performances obviously would be that's, I guess, debate basically that's been going on since, I don't know, maybe halfway through the season. Josh Allen or, Lamar Jackson, who's going to be MVP. So, because, they both had great seasons. So yeah, just looking at the numbers here, Josh put up in terms of passing yards, 3,731 yards, 28 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He had a passer rating of 101.4, and he led the league in QBR of 77.3. And he also had 102 carries for 531 yards and 12 rushing touchdowns. That is very, very impressive. And on the other side is the two-time league MVP in Lamar Jackson. So he had a total of 4,172 passing yards, which was sixth in the league. He had 41 touchdowns, which is tied for second with Joe Burrow. And he had through 4 interceptions, had a passer rating of 119.6, which was damn right impressive. And the total QBR only second to Josh Allen, and just off 0.1 basically, and so total QBR of 77.2. So that coupled with another impressive stat of 139 carries for 915 yards and 4 rushing touchdowns. So just to put that in context, 915 yards on the ground. He almost had 1,000 rushing yards as a quarterback. That is absolutely ridiculous.
Usually, if you're running back and you get 1,000 yards, you had a fantastic
had a great
season.
year.
That's a season to get paid.
Oh yeah.
So you got a quarterback doing running back duties,
and he played with Derrick Henry in his backfield, so you can imagine still being able to put up those kind of numbers. So there's always, I guess, been the debate throughout the season, who should be MVP, and it's a tough one. Looking at the numbers, I think Lamar has better numbers, but if you were to ask me, I'll say just for this year, and it's not about who is the better player or anything like that. I just think for this year, in terms of impact. Because when they say most valuable, it always comes down to, I'll say, if you take this player out of the team, what does the team look like, right? And I feel like this year, again, not taking anything away from Lamar's greatness, but I feel like if you took him out of the team, you still had Derrick Henry in that backfield, right? Which that could always kind of like cause havoc for other defenses. So, but Josh Allen, I know when we did our preseason picks, I didn't even have them winning the AFC
Division.
East. Yeah, I didn't even have that. I had Miami winning that, which didn't happen. So Josh had a great season, right? He had lost his two wide receivers in Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs, and I kind of thought they will be in a season where they kind of like will be trying to like figure out kind of like their identity, but that wasn't the case. Like Joshua Allen just he took over, man. Like I remember one game going into Detroit
Yeah.
and putting like 40 something points on them like that. Like this whole season, he did not disappoint. So not that there's any kind of like fatigue from Lama Jackson already winning two, but I'll say in terms of just being the most valuable player for your team and in the league, I'll say Josh Allen just pips him a little bit to it. Again, if you go by the stats, because I remember last season when Lama won it, he had, I think his team had the best record in the AFC, but his numbers were not quite as good as this season's numbers. When you compare them, like this season's his numbers this season were way better, but his team had that record, and obviously it's not like his numbers were like bad anyway. So and he won it. So I'm just thinking that this year Josh's numbers compared to Lama's are not like like Lama has like better stats, but I'll say in terms of just the value, 12 rushing touchdowns, 531 yards on the ground rushing, and just being able to limit his turnovers too, at the same time, and 28 touchdowns, passing touchdowns. I just feel like he was Superman for that team. I obviously had help, with the like wide receivers, tight ends, and all that, but yeah, I just feel like to me he pips Lama for this one.
Yeah. On that MVP conversation, for that, I think it's a little bit easier because hindsight is is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
If Buffalo beats um, Baltimore head to head, now we have perspective on that. So I would say Josh Allen was able to carry his team to in the divisional playoffs victory against Baltimore. So that makes it a little bit easier for me to say he had a better season. The stats are very similar, but you make a good point. If you remove Josh Allen, Buffalo is winning less than 3-4 games. That's kind of the difference that he makes. You got that running game in Derrick Henry. You got the defense, everything that Baltimore does. They might have one or two chances to win a few more games than Buffalo, but head to head, it's a regular season award for the MVP. But I have the benefit of seeing both of them play head to head, and Josh Allen won, so kind of allows a kind of a tiebreaker between both of them on
Oh
that
yeah.
situation here.
Yeah, so no, those were for me obviously the top two performers because they're going at it for who would be crowned regular season MVP for the 24 season. So we already talked about him, the rookie quarterback Jaden Daniels with the Commanders, but just to touch up on his numbers, so he had 3,568 passing yards, 25 touchdowns, through 9 interceptions. Had a QBR of 70.5. That,
Fourth,
that, that is fourth.
fourth in the
That's fourth in
NFL.
the NFL, and coupled with 148 carries for 891 yards rushing and 6 touchdowns. So he accounted for 31 touchdowns for that team this year as a rookie. To me, that is more than impressive. Like you can even ask that of a quarterback, but he gave them like that this season, and I'm just really excited to see what he does going forward because he is that dual threat quarterback and he can do it with his legs, do it with his arm, and yeah, he just kind of like reminds me a little bit of Lama in a way. But yeah, no, like yeah, like those numbers that he put up for his rookie year, I feel like he can even best them, like year two, year three going forward.
Yeah, yeah. We already talked about the Jaden Daniels thing. Accounted for over 4,000 yards and 31 touchdowns as a rookie. Got them to the
NFC Championship
NFC
game. Yeah,
Championship game. That's really
that's
impressive.
definitely
Yes, they
impressive.
were beat down by the Eagles.
Oh yeah,
That defense kind of got a Saquon and the Jalen Hurts rushing avalanche in that game. But yeah, Jaden Daniels was absolutely amazing as a player. Any other player?
yeah. I guess the last top player performance for me was Baker Mayfield. It was really one that he kind of surprised me with it, right? So this was his second full season with the Bucks, and he basically bettered his stats by in every category, if not all of them, this year. So he had 4,500 passing yards, which was third in the league. He had a 71.4 completion percentage, which is again impressive. 41 touchdowns, tied second in the league as well. He did throw 16 interceptions, but he ended the season with a passer rating of 106.8. And just to put that in context, the highest passer rating you can get is
Four.
150,
Yeah.
148, between 140 and 150. And yeah, so like if you get anything above 100, it's considered like quite good. So for you to end the season on that like number for passer rating of 106.8, that is then right impressive. And yeah, like the 41 touchdowns was one that I really didn't see coming because that offense, they had that offense going. Like he was throwing those dimes and like making plays and like it was great to see for him because he had gone to Cleveland, had that spell, was traded to the Rams, and they kind of like things didn't pan out, and like kind of like found his home with the Bucks, and like in his second year, he really, really, put on a great performance.
And yeah, with Baker Mayfield, now when you look at his performances, you don't feel like he's a weakness for the team.
Oh no,
It's
yeah,
almost like other things has to go well and the Bucks have a chance.
yeah.
So it's
Their
actually
defense this year wasn't as good as it
no.
usually is in the past because
Yeah.
Todd Bowles is obviously a defense-minded guy, but for some reason their defense this year wasn't really up to par. So like I think Baker had to kind of like do more and like be able to like like win them games like on offense more than on defense.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So we're gonna take a look at your most disappointing performers for the season.
So this one is a bit, I don't know if the word is ironic, but the most disappointing team for me this year was the Cincinnati Bengals, and they had started the season 1-4. They only won one game, and I remember they lost the first game of the season to the New England Patriots. Like anyone that loses to the New England Patriots should, yeah, I don't know, you deserve to lose your job or something. But yeah, so the Cincinnati Bengals for me. So they started the season 1-4, but ended the season 9-8. So basically, they only lost four more games after the first five games of the season, and they won nine games. And but unfortunately for them, they were not able to make the playoffs. So this is where I said it was ironic because this is the numbers that their quarterback and their star wide receiver Jamar Chase put up, right? So for a team that did not make the postseason,
You
you
had two of the best players in the whole league
yeah,
in their
exactly.
positions
So like
for the
and
year.
another thing that was kind of ironic was that they had a top five offense and a bottom five defense. Like that's how bad like they were defensively. So they will lose games scoring like 30 plus points and then they just concede more, right? Like just their defense don't basically help anybody. So Joe Burrow, he threw for 4,918 yards, which is first in the league, led the league in passing yards. He completed 70.6% of his passes, 43 touchdowns. That was first in the league through nine interceptions. He had a passer rating of 105, 108.5, and he had the third highest QBR in the league over 74.7. So that's how good he was, like offensively, right? And then the star wide receiver Jamar Chase, he led the league in receptions for 127, receiving yards 1,708, and receiving touchdowns 17 to earn him the triple crown. So he was a triple crown winner, and his quarterback was
Number one in passing yards.
sensational, but for some reason they didn't make it. So it's just that was again good performance, good individual performances from quarterback, star wide receiver, but as a team in general, they fell short, and you there's no other way to qualify that than it just being disappointing. Really, I know like on the last game of the season they needed someone to lose and people to win. And like now, when you put your future in the hands of other people, then it just makes that a whole like a whole mess. But
It,
again, great individual stats from those two guys, but like the team in general, nothing to write home about.
yeah, it's ironic because it's a disappointing season for the team, excellent season for their two best players.
Yeah, but then it's hard to put them as top player performances because like the whole because obviously you play as a team, right? So like when you don't make it to the playoffs, it's hard to kind of like highlight you as having such a great. Because I know like Joe Burrow was kind of like mentioned in the MVP conversation once twice, but then when you just look at the record, everyone is like, nah, we're not we're not even trying to do that right now. Like Saquon had an incredible year. Like it's hard for a running back to win it, but he has such an incredible year. Like imagine if he broke that record, definitely is in the conversation to win it. You know, people will be debating between him, Josh Allen, and Lamar Jackson, right? But to throw Joe Burrow in there again had great individual, but this just shows you that at the end of the day, this is a team game, and your team has to show up for you to like make some noise and win.
Yes, I kind of agree. It's just very ironic. A Triple Crown winner being viewed in general like not having an excellent year, but it will be remembered as a historic performance anyway. Um, he's gonna get paid.
Oh yeah, for
That's the
sure.
thing.
I
He's
think I
get,
think I saw a report where it's like he could be getting like 40 million a year,
that
like
would be
something
crazy.
crazy
He
like
might
that.
be
Yeah.
asking for 50 for messing with him a little bit.
Oh yeah,
It's be
yeah,
like a little tax
yeah,
on making me wait
yeah, yeah,
and see
exactly.
what I can do.
Yeah, no, but for sure, I think he's definitely going to get paid this offseason. I don't think there's any argument or doubt about that. It just depends on how much he ends up getting if he becomes the first wide receiver to make up the 40 million a year.
Yeah. Well, with that performance on the Triple Crown, if someone is going to break the record, I know Justin Jefferson is the highest at around 35 million average a year. So Chase is definitely asking for more.
Oh, he's that dude. He's him.
Yeah,
Jamar Chase is him for sure. Oh yeah.
yeah, he's definitely asking for more than that. So we'll see how that offseason pans out for the Bengals. We'll be taking a close look at that. They've paid Joe Burrow. They need to pay Chase. It would affect every other part of their team. That's a bad recipe for a Cincinnati team that doesn't spend a lot. That's in sort of what you call a smaller market relative to New York and California and some other markets in the United States. For that, any other disappointing performances or teams or players that you want to?
Yeah, but definitely have one. So yeah, well, I already mentioned the San Francisco 49ers
Yeah,
earlier.
injury.
Just the team in general, came up short, disappointing, with the injuries. Like I mentioned earlier, to their key players at different, intervals during the season. But one player that was, I guess, stood out in terms of how disappointing it was Tyreek Hill. So I have the numbers right in front of me. So last season he was chasing to get almost 2,000 yards. Being, he would have been like, I don't know what number, like in terms of like number of wide receivers that have done that in the regular season, getting up to 2,000 yards. But he was chasing that, right? He didn't get it. Finished last season with 1,799 yards on 119 catches and 13 touchdowns. So that went all the way down to only 959 receiving yards on
Mm,
81 catches and six touchdowns this season. So that's why I say for him that was the most disappointing player performance because how do you go from chasing 2,000 yards to getting less than 1,000 and you don't stop there? And the last game of the season, he didn't get enough targets. Then he was like disappointed, and it was almost like he wanted to quit the team. Basically, he was talking about how competitive a player he is and all that. And but I know everyone was getting on him like you left like a perfect winning situation. If you wanted to win, you shouldn't have left Kansas. But you can't be mad at him. He got paid and he gets to live in Miami where the weather is great. So he has that going. He just has to figure out the rest on the pitch.
yeah, that's an interesting story, Tyreek Hill. One way you can actually have the kind of season that Tyreek Hill had is you start your season and the first day of the first game day, you get arrested while going to the stadium. That's interesting. So also what you said, right? You come to Miami, you get a lot of opportunities, you get good weather, your wife gets a TV show. That's one of it as well. So, you know,
You don't get that in Kansas in the cold. You don't get that for sure not. Yeah.
yeah,
So he definitely made a good business decision for him and his family. And we just hope that the football part of it works out for him and he doesn't quit the team or try looking for a trade now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Tyreek Hill situation, the whole tour concussion debate over the course of the year, there are lots of things that happen in Miami.
That definitely didn't help them as well. Tua being out, but like even when Tua came back, if you looked at his numbers and the number of targets that he got compared to last season, it wasn't the same. So for some reason, there was kind of like that dysfunction where now Tua is back, and you think that was the reason he wasn't getting the targets or the receptions. But like even when Tua came back, it was almost like they were kind of like sharing the ball more, and like he wasn't really kind of like the focal or integral part of like that offense.
John Smith became the number one target for Tua when Tua came back.
Oh yeah, he was kind of like the safety blanket, right? Like big tight ends, great hands, and yeah. So I think maybe Tyreek got a little bit upset about that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think it was a fantastic season. We're looking forward to the Super Bowl. Just taking a look at it, I don't think I'm so worried about Tyreek. I know he's a speed guy, but I expect him to have better seasons as long as he stays healthy. Win, I don't know. Not
Definitely not
about
winning the
my.
Super Bowl in Miami. I can tell him that for free right now.
Anyway, to kind of wrap up for this episode of Sports Talk with myself, CT, and Albert. Just want to the Super Bowl is up here pretty soon. This is going to be up. We're looking forward to that. We're going to be crowning a new champion. The NFL is such short term entertainment. 5 months, incredible entertainment. You can keep your eyes off of it. Any final thoughts? Anything that you're thinking about going into the Super Bowl? Anything you're looking forward to in the off season that you're keeping your eyes on? I can say for free the Jamar Chase contract situation. I'll be taking a look at that. A lot of coaching changes. I'm just gonna say a few of the coaching decisions that have already been made. The Super Bowl is not over, so some teams looking to hire coaches and coordinators will be waiting after the Super Bowl in case they want to pick up one there. So a lot of all those decisions are not complete yet, but I'm just gonna go through for the NFL fans the few changes that happened. Mike Vrabel is now going to be the coach at the New England Patriots. Ben Johnson coming over from um, the Detroit Lions is going to become the head coach of the Chicago Bears. Pete Carroll is now the former Super Bowl winning Seattle Seahawks coach, is now going to become the head coach of the Oakland Raiders. And Aaron Glenn is going to be the new head coach of the New York Jets, coming over from the defensive coordinator job from Detroit. Just in general, any final thoughts, anything you're looking forward to in the offseason, Super Bowl, and what you think about this season that we're kind of concluding it right now?
So no, I guess no, like I said, looking forward to the Super Bowl. I think that would be a great game. I want to see a lot of action in it. Defense, offense, just everything in there. Turnovers. I want it to be dramatic and may the best man win. And but I guess the one thing to look out for is if the Kansas City Chiefs do win, does Travis Kelsey retire and drive into the sunset with Taylor Swift? We'll never know. We'll have to find out.
There is an interesting prop. I gotta say this on the Super Bowl, a Swifty prop for the Super Bowl, like betting that says, "Will Travis Kelsey propose to Taylor Swift?"
Oh yeah, I haven't seen that.
But the Super Bowl, I think it's.
Oh yeah, but like if that happens, I feel like it would definitely have been. I know like a proposal usually kind of like a surprise, but like I feel like she would not be opposed to it in a way. Not that she would know, but like it may be something that they might have had a conversation about. Like, oh, would that be okay? Or you just be completely surprised and then she will say no, and it becomes even more dramatic.
Still part of the whole sunset thing.
No,
right?
I hope that's not the case. I hope that's not the case for sure. Not.
Still part of the sunset.
I like Travis.
I win a champions. I win a championship. I propose and I'm off.
Yeah.
Take a little bit, because why I'm saying that is it might sound funny, but you realize that on his show with his brother Jason, right? There's a little bit of a conversation about, oh, I just retired, gonna spend more time with my family. What if Travis is like, I'm gonna say something here. I don't know if getting married to Taylor Swift is spending time with your family. He's spending time with the Swifties.
Oh yeah. I wish him all the best with that for sure. But no. But in terms of the game itself, yeah, looking forward to it. Will Patrick Mahomes, gain that immortal status and be, the first and only right now quarterback to
Trevor.
win the treble, and would he be like Super Bowl MVP as well if they win it? That makes it even more interesting.
So since you bring it up, your Super Bowl MVP for each of the teams, if they win, who do you think?
Mahomes for the Chiefs, Saquon for the Eagles.
So we're gonna actually end there. So you heard it. Mahomes possible if the Kansas City Chiefs win to be the Super Bowl MVP. Thank you so much, Albert. We're gonna be watching that finals closely. Gonna be back soon. The NBA is in full swing. Soccer is in full swing. Before we go, because this is sports show, I know we spend all the time talking about the NFL. What do you think about the new Champions League format in the UEFA Champions League format?
I think he actually turned out good, like great, like in some ways, because like they didn't have that group stage where they grouped into like four teams playing each other home and away, and so this time around, like obviously they had like what, the 36 teams,
Yeah,
and top eight make it straight to the round of 16. From 9 to 16 get to like play in the
no,
playoffs.
9 to 24.
9 to 24, sorry, playing the playoffs, and then eight of them would come from there to play the top
Top
eight
eight.
teams. So no, it's kind of refreshing to see, like obviously, like you get used to just watching the old format, and like it's kind of like what I've been used to watching, like since I don't know 2000, and so what I've been watching the Champions League 2005, watching the Champions League. So like yeah, like it was definitely refreshing, and just to see some big teams kind of like struggling, to make it into like the top 20, the top 24 team, it was interesting as well. So like no, the format to me, there might have been like skepticism to start the season with it, but like I feel like it actually played out well, because now we have a super matchup of Real Madrid versus Man City in the playoff round to make it to the round of 16. So definitely looking forward to that one.
I think to share similar sentiment, I think it was fantastic.
Oh yeah.
Last two rounds was absolutely engaging. Not just for who falls out of the top 24, but the positioning.
Yes.
You got teams playing for a top 8 spot. You got teams playing for not to drop bottom of 24.
24, yeah.
It was absolutely engaging. I said that is a new thing from UEFA that I think was an absolute success.
Oh,
We'll
yeah,
see
for
how
sure.
it plays out in future years.
I think that's all kind of like in response to like the whole Super League thing, and they're just them just trying to do something different. So it's kind of like went with the league format instead of the kind of like group stage format. So like they got to play more games, 8 instead of 6, but still it turned out great. Yeah.
Yep, I totally agree. I think I enjoyed the last round of that and just the different things I was looking out for. AC Milan being a top 8 team, losing to a Dynamo Zagreb team that sucks. I had to fall to 12.
So,
Those were some very interesting things just to see how it moved.
yeah.
You got teams juggling, Bayer Leverkusen trying to get to a top 8 teams that valued it, and then teams that actually fell out there, and then you're getting a matchup like Man City versus Real Madrid that usually would
wait
be
until like the quarterfinals
finals,
or semifinals matchup, right? But now you get to see that in the playoffs.
And I think it's fantastic. Usually those teams are grouped against just by name value against really poor teams.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just by some record.
And I don't think anyone got to play anybody twice too. I think you played
No.
each opponent for each game week, or each of the 8 game weeks was a different.
Yeah, because there are so
opponent,
many
which was-
options,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So that was a good thing to see too.
Oh yeah. I totally I looked at it and I was like, this is a good decision. Over
Oh,
the
yeah.
next few years, we're gonna see how it's gonna move on. But I think it's gonna be interesting to see. They're gonna be one thing I actually enjoyed is the fact that every game week there was intriguing games.
Yes.
Either a PSG playing Madrid, like something intriguing.
Aston Villa versus Bayern,
Bayern
when they
Munich,
beat
yeah,
Bayern, that was
such
another
weird
very,
things that you would not
you normally
occasionally
wouldn't
see, but
right? Yeah.
those are actually
And it just to give the fans so like an opportunity, right, to be able to like go like this from the smaller teams, like or smaller, I guess, leagues, be able to like travel to like like a Liverpool or like a Real Madrid and be able to play there, like for the fans to have that feeling too is definitely great for them.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Albert. Gonna be wrapping up here. We're looking forward to the Super Bowl. That's coming up here really soon. Don't forget, on the channel, City Dive Sports channel here, don't forget to click like, subscribe, share, hit the notification button, and that'll be it for Sports Talk with myself, CT, and Albert. Peace, everyone.
Until next time, see you guys.